Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the CKC channel. I'm your host, Field Master Calvin Claassen. And yes, we are at the end of the year. It's December time, and this will be our final episode of season 3. And yes, it's been a very nice year and season. Lots of books released, lots of interesting guests, interesting games, and yeah, I think we've got one more very interesting episode left. So if you are new to the channel, don't forget to press the follow button. Feel free to subscribe and support the channel as well. And also, don't forget to leave your questions in the chat box for our special guest. Our special guest, I actually know this evening. I'll leave the proper introduction to Dr. Boa, but okay, over the years I have uh, learned or I've gotten to know this lady player better over the years, and she's done some amazing stuff in South African chess, and we are quite keen to hear more about her this evening. So, okay, so that's that, and good evening to everyone in the chat already, and I'm going to switch over to the reflections library basically, and yes, over to you, Dr. Boa.
Thank you very much, Calvin, and good evening, viewers. Yes, tonight we've got a very special guest with us. Her name is Megan van Niekerk, and she's a Women International Master Elect. And we will be talking about Megan and how she got to where she is today. But just to reflect, Calvin, yes, we've had a fantastic season, and we're ending off with Megan because we are hoping to start in the 4th series with a few female players that we will also continue to interview as well. So Megan, we're kicking off with you, and welcome to our show here in 2021, The Reflections, where we just talk generally about chess. And Megan, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Uncle Lyndon, and Calvin for having me. I'm very excited, and I'm looking forward to this reflections for the year.
Super. Megan, how did it all start? How old were you when you started to play chess?
Sure, Uncle Lyndon, you're taking me way back. I started playing chess at the age of 6, I think. My dad introduced the game to me and my 2 sisters, Lauren and Robin. It must have been very challenging for him. I mean, we were all so young, but I think looking back, I think it was a success. But yeah, I started when I was 6, and I'm still currently playing chess.
Super. And Megan was when I tend to think about the Van Niekerk sisters, I nearly want to say you guys are like the Polga sisters. You all played chess there from an early age, and you were somewhat beating some of the men in the boys in their age groups. How do you feel when you were competing, boys, girls? What did you prefer to play in the open age group categories?
I think I was indifferent for a very long time. Because I know, so when we practice chess, and then obviously we play against each other, and then sometimes we play against my dad as well. But it also, like, the way we practice, it wasn't about who you are playing, it's about the game itself. So like when you get to the board, it's just like the chessboard and you, not the opponent or the gender, or like it's an open section if they're older, younger. I do think psychologically, older people did have a role, you know, I mean, like the older, they more experienced, but I think it was just important to remember, like, to stick to what you know and just let the gameplay itself. Don't worry about who your opponent is.
No, I think that's a very wise philosophy. Megan, you said you were 6 years old, so that would have been around about 2003, 2004. What was your earliest memory or memories of tournament chess, and in which town was it in South Africa?
So we moved to Mossel Bay when I was very small. So I think my chess journey kind of like started in Mossel Bay, where we played for the Southwestern District, SWD, they call it. So Mossel Bay was a very small town. So majority of our tournaments were like in George. So that was like our first traveling point in the sense. And
Sure.
we met friends, and I remember you and Auntie Denise also came down to Mossel Bay, and we had like a chess camping booth, you know, and that was actually very interesting, very fun. But yeah, it all started in Mossel Bay.
And those opponents that and players that you got to meet in SWD, you still friends with him, Megan?
I think no, I don't think in SWD not so much, but Western Province yes, but
Of
not so much.
course.
No.
Of course, normally we tend to make our friends during high school, and we stick with him kind of in that regard. And
Yeah.
Megan, as you were, when was the first time that you played for South Africa?
Oh, I think like on a international scale.
Yeah, didn't you go to France one year? Because I seem to recall you going to France at some stage.
Oh, right. I was actually 12 years old. Sorry, Uncle.
Yes.
I was actually 12 years old, grade 6, because I remember my grade 6 teacher, I told her the news and she was very excited. So yeah, I was 12 years old and we went to this town outside of France. It's called Salut, they say. But if you read it in English, it just says Saint Lo, but it's pronounced Salut. And that was my first international tournament. And that's also where I met a very interesting friend who I'm still in contact with after like over 10 years. His name is William. He also played chess, so I'm still in contact with him. And that's also where I grew my love for the country itself, the language. I even have a cup of coffee with a French lady on. That's how
Okay.
much into Paris. But yeah, that was the first international tournament.
And Megan, when you were exposed at such an early age to that top level chess, how did it make you feel? Did you want to study a bit more? And what were your impressions after that first tournament?
After that first tournament, I realized that chess can actually take you very, very far in life. And that also motivated me to, continue practicing. And I think at that point, being being so young when you started playing chess, it was my dad who was our coach. But that's also where I made the decision that I actually want to grow in chess and I want to become self-motivated and just achieve things through our chess. So that was like a turning point at a very young age. And I just continued to play chess, more tournaments, practice harder. And through that, I managed to go to different countries as well. And the achievement in Mozambique in 2018, it all stemmed from my first international trip.
No, fantastic stuff. Now, will you share with us a bit about what your study methodology was over that period? Obviously, I know you're working now and so forth, but at that time, did you sort of put an hour aside in a day, or how did it work? Would you like to share with us a bit?
Is this for the 2018 zonals or like just in general?
In general, because I remember you also went to Uganda to the African individuals and so forth. So I mean, you were playing at quite a number of tournaments internationally. So how did you generally prepare for these tournaments?
Yeah, so my dad always told us that you don't have to do hours and hours of chess because obviously the older you get, it doesn't become practical anymore because you have school, high school, extramural activities. But my dad always just said, stay in touch with the game, do little bits every day. So the times when academics was a bit hectic, I still kept time aside in the evenings, just playing like quick games online on my phone, doing tactics. I think that was very, very important just to keep your brain stimulated. So I did that like on a consistent basis. And then leading up to tournaments, that's where like the training becomes a bit more serious. And that's where you do research on your potential opponents, what they play. That's also when I touched up on certain openings. I played E4 quite a bit when I was younger. I love the Rilo base. And obviously games are available online. So for certain tournaments, you obviously want to surprise your opponents with different repertoires. So yeah. I also, try to find different strategies and styles just to take my opponent off guard for in certain games. Just trying not to do the same thing over and over, but still sticking to my principles to make sure that I know what I'm doing at least.
No, of course. So basically, you not try to experiment a bit and just not to be as, let's call it, predictable. So you would be preparing there. Megan, when I think of some of the games that I've seen you play, you always appear to be very tactical and attacking. Would that be a true sort of look at your games?
So yes, I think it also came from like the certain classics that I went through as a child. Um, my sisters were more like on the um, close positions, you know, more like the Karapov type of positions, slow build ups, and then waiting to attack at the end. Um, but I love Bobby Fischer, and his games were very open and very like sharp and all of those things. So going through those type of players, I think that also developed within my type of play. So when looking at my games, you'll notice that I do prefer the open, more tactics, more attacking type of play. So yeah, I think you're right in saying that.
And there's absolutely nothing wrong because everybody has their own style, whether your sisters prefer a close game, I must tell you though that as you grow older, you tend to play more close games because then you know that there's no tactics. But
Right.
that is how things develop. Megan, you mentioned Bobby Fischer now. Which other top players influenced your thinking as you were growing up?
So we went through a couple of classic players, like Alekine, Karpov. At a stage, I even went to Rubinstein. So there was quite a handful of classics that I would follow. Like do my own childlike analysis, telling my dad this is what I liked about the game. This is what I also want to try to do. I want to adopt this opening. So there were different types of plays that we went through. I know at a stage we also went through Tau. And then I was like, as much as I love attacking games, this is like next level. So I was like, okay, I don't want to go that extreme, but it was very interesting to go through these games as well.
Of course, look, Tal used to be one of those players that he used to say the computer may solve the problem, but on the board it's still the opponent, the human, that must obviously solve the issue there at the board. Megan, when I think about 2018 and your win at the Zone 4.3 Team Championship in Mozambique. What was your level of preparation like before you went to Mozambique?
Um, I don't know if this is gonna sound a bit weird or not, but let me just give a bit of background. So, um, I've been practicing chess quite intensely for quite some time since I was very, very young. And I think I was like a late bloomer when it came to chess. I had like these great achievements, these mini achievements, obviously, but I wanted more. But I kept like finding like there's this barrier that's blocking me from growing. And I told my dad, no, daddy, I'm going to stop playing for now. I just want to focus on my academics, blah, blah, blah. Then my dad was like, Megan, just be patient. Just do what you need to do. And then everything will fall into place. So then he's like, so I got this invitation to go to Mozambique, and I actually thought of not participating. My dad was like, but why? Just go and then let's see how it goes. My level of preparation was not intense. I just decided to kind of like go with the flow. And I slept a lot. I did go through a couple of tactics here and there. I just brushed up on my openings as well. But I was very calm. I didn't put pressure on myself. I kind of like removed that element of pressure. And I think that's maybe what was holding me back. I kept putting pressure on myself, saying, Megan, this has to happen, this has to happen. But for this tournament, I just said, you know what? Let's just see what happens. Let's just go with the flow. And I guess that approach worked.
Well, it certainly did. So I will have to remember this advice that you're giving to us and the viewers. Go with the flow, just and take the pressure off, that expectations away from oneself. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, your sister was also there at that tournament.
Yeah, she and Calvin were there.
So super. So it's great to have that support also there. And did you learn to speak Portuguese?
No, I think French was my only language that I tried to take on, but not another language.
No, understood. Megan, so that was a fantastic tournament, and also to win a zonal is not easy. And I mean, you probably only one of a handful of about 5 South African women that I have knowledge of that have won a zonal. So well done to you in that regard. And I'm sure now that you need to get to a certain rating to get the WIM title. Is that correct?
Right. I think the rating's about 2,000, if I'm not mistaken.
You're still going to play in a few events to just see that you can get there to that rating at some stage.
Yeah. So I know, like, after my studies, well, actually, studies became a priority in my life. And then I started working as well, and then I still decided to study part-time honors. So academically, it took, and work-wise, it took a lot of my time.
Sure.
Then I know I submitted my last paper on the 25th of November this year. And then that evening, my dad came to me, then he was like, Megan, so I see you have a lot of free time now. Then
Yes.
before you say anything, I'm like, yes, Daddy, I am gonna start practicing chess again. And then he got such a fright, and he was like, was that always the plan? So I said, yes, Daddy. I just needed to sort out my career and get my ducks in a row. But I don't think I'll ever let go of chess because it's such a big part of my life. So
Yeah.
I need to get a rating so that I can claim the title. So that is the plan going forward.
No, excellent. I'm so glad to hear that, because and we can only wish you well as you embark upon this journey, because of course now you will be embarking upon the journey also with maturity, because
Right.
that's what studies also bring. It brings that maturity in your approach, and also just in your intellectual approach to things. Megan, what did you study and what did you graduate with? Because you said you're doing honors, or you did honors this year, but what was your undergraduate degree?
So I studied BCom General, and then because after school I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do. So I took like a general stream, and then throughout the 4 years of my studies, I realized that I actually enjoy finance and investments. So I majored in finance and management in 2019, and then in 2020, with the heavy lockdown, we had studies from home. But I still took on honors part-time because I also wanted to gain a bit of work experience. So I did my honors in finance and investments, and yeah, results come out the 22nd. So like next week, Wednesday.
Super. I'm sure we're all looking forward to that, Megan. And I'm just thinking now that there's quite a few top chess players and grandmasters that are in the finance world, and you're joining that world now.
Oh,
One of Africa's grandmasters, Amon Samatoe, he's at an economic company in finance in the States as well. So quite a lot of people have gone down the economic route. So I think you are in very good company in that regard.
I think it's a sign.
Yes, no, that's certainly a sign. Now, Megan, when I think of you and your games, which are the openings that you prefer? I mean, you spoke about the Roy Lopez earlier, but I mean, are you happy to play against any opening, because they all give a sort of a different vibe to the game, or was it just you play what you prefer to have studied?
um, I know growing up, our main focus wasn't exactly openings. It was more like on the chess principles. But we had like a skeleton of what to do, and we would just like do quick prep on openings. So I'm not like focused on like book moves only. So if an opening comes and something is not familiar, I do think that my dad mentally prepared us for those type of situations, because that's just how he taught us. So I know when I was younger, I played E4 a lot. But then, like you also mentioned, the older you get, you don't always want to look up for tactics, so you end up playing D4. So in the later part of my chess career, I started playing D4 quite often. But I don't think I mind playing E4 or D4. Like both produce good, exciting games.
Super. You sound like you are well on your way to become a universal player in the mold of Spassky. Yeah, because Spassky used to be able to play E4 and D4 as well. Megan, have you, if one would ask the question, which books influenced you in your chess thinking? You mentioned Alekhine, Karpov, Rubinstein, and you were also exposed to Tal, and you were exposed to Fischer. But which books, if you think back now, which books do you think assisted your chess thinking?
I know that at a stage, I was also very much over Botvinnik.
Sure.
I don't know the name or the volume of the book, but it's like this light blue cover. Um, So I went through his games. I would sit in my room at night and I would just go through his games. And I'd be like, wow, this actually looks interesting. If I remember correctly, he was more of like the D4 type. So I think that's when started. Um, and he kind of like helped me to enjoy the more passive play as well, but still keeping that tactics always on the sideline. So I think that would be one book that I can like remember.
Yep. No, look, I mean, Botvinnik was, of course, sort of a triple world champion, if you want, because he won the world title after losing it to Smyslov in 57. Then he beat Smyslov again. Then he lost it to Tull. Then he beat Tull again. So, I mean, he literally came back and won after winning the world championship for the first time in 48. So, I mean, a wonderful player, Mikhail Botvinnik, of course, as well. And Megan, if you... what advice would you give for younger players growing up now? How do you think they should improve their chess? If you would give some advice.
I think especially for like young players, keep it fun, you know. I don't know if this is easier said than done, but I grew up with obviously two sisters, and we always made our mini tournaments between the three of us fun. We would play blitz, and then we say the first 1 to 10 wins, and the loser must go for cool drink. So we always like keep this fun aspect to chess, but also just keeping your mind sharp. You know, go through tactics. I think puzzles, it really stimulates your brain and it makes a difference on the board because obviously you can like spot different tactics way quicker. And I also think it's very important to keep to the classics. You know, I think it lays a very solid foundation, and if you can follow that, I think you should be fine.
Megan, keeping it fun and stick to the classics. Those
There we
are
go.
two things I heard you say now. Now, Megan, let's talk about club chess because I'm told that there's a chess club called MRL, and I'm not sure what the M stands for in MRL. Do you perhaps want to tell us?
Okay, so MRL can actually go two ways. The club was founded by my dad, Lorenzo van Niekerk. So it can either be Mr. Lorenzo, so MR for Mr. L Lorenzo, or it can refer to his three daughters, which is Megan, Robin, Lauren. So it's actually quite nice because it's a family orientated club. And the name represents it quite well as well.
Super. Now, which clubs have you played for? Only MRL, or did you also play for UWC now and again in the league?
I don't think I've ever played UWC. No. I played for MRL, and then when we were like way younger, I think I was probably grade 8 to grade 9. There was this club called Timberwolves. Not anymore, but I played for that club. But I think the only other club that I played for would be MRL.
Sure. And how important is club chess in your opinion?
I think it's important because it's team play and it's not just like individuality. And you kind of have to take different aspects into consideration when you are playing in the league. Whereas like if you play individual tournaments, it's up to you. Just, you know, if you lose, it's on you. You can improve on your mistakes and all of those things. If you want to draw, that's also fine. But when it comes to team play, you have to kind of analyze the entire situation, because if you are the last man standing and you end up drawing, the other team could win. So that kind of like pushes you to, you know, kind of worm your way out of a difficult situation and try to get that point through so you can win. So I do think it's very important because it brings like a different aspect into the way that you think, because it involves team play and not just like yourself.
Sure. No, I mean, it's a very important point. And I mean, listening to you, having played even when you were at school for Timberwolves and then later on for MRL, I mean, those things would have also made you battle hardened as well, that you are happy to face any opponent because you know that in a club situation you can play against anybody really, whatever team you come up against.
Right.
Now, Megan, in terms of the top players nowadays, which are the top players that you admire of the men or women?
Can I go with the easy answer and just say Carlson? Because he's
Isn't that too easy? Isn't that too easy, Megan?
that is a bit easy. But I know there's a tournament. There was a tournament recently. I didn't follow it like too intensely, but my dad mentioned it quite often. I don't know if it's still going on. Uncle Lennon, is it still going on?
No, there's no tournaments at the moment going on. The next tournament is actually starting on Christmas Day, which is the World Rapid and Blitz in Poland, in Warsaw. So they're going to be saying Merry Christmas and checkmate all at once.
The same time. No, but wasn't there one with Carlson playing?
Yeah, it ended on Sunday. He got a trophy back on Sunday night.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
After 11 games.
Right. I didn't follow it though, but I did know that it was going on. But yeah, I think the easy answer would be Carlson.
No, understood in that regard. Now, Megan, the going forward now, for you, you're going to now start preparing during the vacation, and obviously, hopefully, we'll have some return to normal chess. To allow you to obviously get your games going again. Will you be intensifying your preparation, or and do you think you should get yourself a coach? What are your thoughts about that?
My plan is to just get back into the game at my own pace for now. Again, not putting too much pressure on myself. So I first want to get into the game myself, get into routine of doing certain things. And then, because my goal is to eventually claim the title of WIM, I would like to obviously up my training. So I do think a coach will come into play, but I think my life coach will always be my father. So he'll always be around advising me and guiding me. But just for like that extra push, I do think a coach would be useful. But I'm actually lucky, Uncle Lyndon, because I have two brother-in-laws, Calvin Clausen and Craig Willenberg. So I can always just dial on their number to assist with coaching.
That may be a good idea. Good idea, Megan. Now, Megan, you said earlier that you when I asked you about the modern players that you admire, you mentioned Carlson, but I came across a photograph of you at your home with Wesley So.
Yes, he came, I think it was about 3 years ago. It was during the time when my niece was born, Katie. So I think it's about 3 years ago, but I actually forgot about that. But yes, we met Wesley, so he was here in our house.
Yes, no, I must tell you that I typed in onto Google Megan van Niekerk chess. That's all I typed in. Right. And then, boom, there comes a picture of Megan van Niekerk with Wesley So. And I thought, oh my goodness, this girl is really keeping good company.
I need to go check that out. I'm going to go Google it after this reflections. I need to go see the photo.
Yes, no, Megan van Niekerk chess. That's all I typed in, and then that, of course, came as well. Calvin, I'm going to hand over to you now for a moment, and then I will then come back with my final questions in a minute.
Okay, I'm back over here. Lyndon seems to have shifted the Zoom visuals here. Let me just try to shift everything back over here. Yeah, that shouldn't be like this and this. Okay, there we go. Okay, so we shifted back. I'm quite happy. Recently, okay, not recently, a few months ago, Zoom kind of improved by allowing me to drag the visuals. Otherwise, we would have been stuck for a while. But anyway, interesting stuff, Megan. And I've got a couple of questions here in the chat box. So I must say, when they asked you about the favorite player, I don't know if my earphones, I need to maybe buy new earphones. I thought you said obviously Klaasen, but it must have been okay. Yeah. Carlson. Okay, so sounds the same to me. Anyways, so first question from Boom Shaka. It says, did you train with your sisters before tournaments?
I think training with my sisters was more of like a consistent thing. It wasn't just like focused solely for, okay, is a tournament coming up, let's practice. Yeah, I think consistency is key, and that's what my dad was also trying to teach us. So on weekends we would have like quick blitz tournaments, always just playing against each other. So yeah, not just before tournaments, but just like throughout our life.
Great stuff, good stuff. So there we go, guys. And Charles Ahab has also joined. Welcome, Charles, here in the chat box. Charles says, "Good day, Doctor and FM Calvin. Good to see our female players being profiled as well. Good luck, Megan." So thanks, Charles. And yeah, another question in the chat box. For now, let's see. You won the zonals in 2018. What is your next chess goal?
My next chess goal is to boost my rating up to 2000. So that's going to take quite a bit of practice, but it's definitely attainable. So my goal is to claim the title of a woman international master elect. Not the elect. I want to drop the elect part, you know?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it for the questions in the chat. Maybe I can just drop another question and then I'm gonna leave you guys again. So okay, I've had the opportunity. I learned the game of chess from my older brother Mario, and I always struggled psychologically to play against him at school level. But he was quite a few years older than me, so eventually I didn't get a chance to play him at a higher level of my own play. But how does it? I'm assuming you've played against your siblings, your sisters a few times at tournaments. How is it? Do you guys go all out? Do you guys? Is there one sister that you fear, or don't you really mind at all playing siblings?
I know Uncle Lyndon asked earlier whether, like, psychologically, is there a difference depending on who you play, and do you prefer open tournaments or closed tournaments? And I mentioned that, it's all about what's on the board. But I think when it comes to siblings, or with me personally, when I played my sisters, in my mind, I was so young, and I was like, oh no, I'm playing Lauren or Robin. And then when we got to the board, I kind of like mentally already told myself, I'm probably going to lose anyways. And then we would laugh and shake hands and whatever. But when it came to like training and things, so usually we would prep with my dad and we would go to different openings of certain opponents. But when it came to playing against each other, there was no prep from my father's point of view. We had to do our own prep, and the rule was always fight it out till the end. It's not about don't draw just because you guys are siblings, or don't give a point away just because you guys are siblings. You play like it's any other opponent. But I think majority of the time I ended up losing. So I do think that there's a psychological impact when it comes to playing at that time. There was a psychological impact. Who did I fear most? I think it's equal, because Lauren was a lot older. She's like 3 years older than me, but Robin has a more stern face. So like there's so many to consider.
Okay.
So both.
Okay, interesting stuff. Thanks, Megan. Yeah, but I think you have, of course, gotten past that psychological hurdle a bit. I think the last essay closed, you played against Robin. You beat her. If I'm standing to be corrected though, but yeah. Anyways, and then one last question. I think you already touched on this though. But Charles actually is asking in the chat box, what is Megan's favorite chess book? You touched on a Botvinnik book. Is there any other book that comes to mind, or yeah, that's our last question.
I think my most favorite book would be the Botvinnik book, but I also enjoy Bobby Fischer's games quite a lot. But the most memorable one would be the Botvinnik one.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Megan. I'm gonna leave it off to Dr. Boa. See you guys in a bit.
Thanks, Calvin. So, Megan, one of the things that your sisters have done, which I'm sure you're going to add to your bucket list, is that both of them have played at an Olympiad.
Yeah. Yep.
Are you adding that to your bucket list?
Yes, that is definitely something that I would love to achieve one day. I think that would be my biggest achievement that I can get through chess. So yeah, that is definitely something that I would like to do in the future.
Now, I can just wish you well, because Megan, of course, to the viewers out there, when Megan does one day, and I have no doubt she will do that, when she does represent South Africa on that day, history will be made, because Megan, you will be the first family to have more than 2 family members that ever played in an Olympiad. At the moment, we've got David and Jonathan Gluckman, and you've got Kenny and Maxwell Solomon, and now, of course, you've got Robin and Lauren, and now we're waiting for Megan. And then you'll have 3 sisters from the same family having represented South Africa at an Olympiad. That would be simply phenomenal. So we look forward to the day that you break that record as well.
Thank you, Uncle London. I'm looking forward to making history, potentially.
Potentially, it certainly is on that side. And who knows, maybe one or both of your sisters is even in the team with you there to support you as well. Yeah. Megan, in terms of your work, I just wanted to get understanding. So what do you do now? Can we come to you if we have any money to invest?
Oh, no, Uncle London. I'm not on that level yet. So I know what I do is we basically just like capture funds, but we don't, then that information like will get sent to like limited partners or general partners, and they would like make the investment decisions. But we just do like the back end work of just making sure that everything, it makes sense, it has a logical flow, it has the necessary information basically, but we don't do any of the actual decisions or advice.
I'm sure that without your research and advice on that side, they won't know what to do, Megan. So your work is very important in that regard. So, super. Now, Megan, in terms of chess, can you recall who your sort of most difficult opponent, besides your sisters now, was over the board, and how did you overcome? You don't need to mention his or her name. How did you overcome that psychological barrier? Because all of us had a difficult opponent. In fact, I still have difficult opponents even after 33 years of play. I mean, only recently I actually scored a draw against Watu after many years. Now, how do you get over psychologically difficult opponents?
I think an important way to get over it is to also, so like what I would do is I would go through the opponent's games and try to see where did I, like, learn from your mistakes. And through that, you kind of, the more you practice on those certain mistakes and the more you practice on just like improving your own game, that alone brings more confidence. So that would be step 1. Sure. And then 2, I think it would be to just, the opponent does have like a psychological impact on your play, but not to like a great extent where you already given up before the match even started. So I would say how I overcame it, it would just be like, okay, so psychologically, I know I'm playing you. But when the game starts, you gradually like shut down. Like, I'm not playing you anymore. We're playing the game. Sure. And I think that's how I've overcome it.
Megan, thank you. That's a very logical way of approaching it. Now, a question that I often ask players that we interview is, what was your favorite tournament? Doesn't have to be the zonal, of course, which you want, but there may be different reasons why a tournament is your favorite. What were your favorite tournaments to play when in these last sort of 10 years or so? What tournaments spring to mind readily?
A tournament that would come to mind would be when we played in Johannesburg. It was the top schools. Yeah.
Sure.
That was a memorable tournament. We had quite a strong team. It was Shane Willenberg. It was Christopher Lont. It was both my sisters, Lauren and Robin. It was myself. There was Jared, and there was another player. But it was a very, very interesting tournament because we always had our tough opponent, which was Waterkloof. That was the other top. And we were so close to almost beating them, but then something happened in the last round and we lost. So we came second, but the pressure was on. It was very intense. But even off the board, it was good team spirit, and I think it's very important to have that team spirit going. So that would be one tournament that was memorable. Another tournament would be the Uganda Tournament.
Yes, 2016.
Yes. So Robin was with me there as well. It was a very interesting journey because I remember on our off day we went to like the safari, learning about these different animals. But what I didn't know is that there are these massive spiders, and I have arachnophobia, Uncle Lyndon. So it was quite intense for me. But the memories behind it, I'll always keep with me. I'll always cherish it. So
Sure.
that was also the most memorable tournaments for me.
And is it true that somebody had a snake around her neck there at this Uganda tournament?
I didn't even think she had it in her, but Robin decided to put a snake around her neck. Very daring.
Yes.
Not something I would do.
Yeah, no, no. I must say, I recall seeing such a picture, and I just thought to myself, I wouldn't be able to do that. And yeah, Robin is. I'm not sure if it's what's it called, the snake variation or something in the Benoni or something like that. But Megan, I think that you guys have been playing for a very long time, and of course, you've gained a lot of experience now. So I'm sure things, as your dad says, will come together as as it should be when you're good and ready, and you've shown now with the zonals. Megan, in terms of playing in other African continental events. You've played the African individuals now, you've played a zonals. So I think there's, besides the Olympiad, hopefully there'll be an all African games in 2023. So that may also be something to strive for, because the African games take place every 4 years. So the last one was in 2019. Just before the sort of a few months before the lockdown. So that may also be something that you may want to add to your list of tournaments you'd like to participate in.
Definitely. Now that you mentioned it, I do think it'll be something that I'll work towards. So, and if I am given the opportunity to like participate, I will grab it hands down, because I'm actually very eager to get back into playing competitively again.
I can believe that. Megan, one aspect that I want to just touch upon before we sort of come to a conclusion tonight is your high school career at Settlers. Settlers always appeared to be a very strong chess playing high school. Was it just by chance, or was Settlers always just involved with chess? What are your takes on that?
I think so. I'm not sure about before I was in high school, or after, but I think at that time it was a strong team, because a lot of well-known chess players went to Settlers at that age. So, like I mentioned, it was the Willenberg. So Chad and Shane was Christopher Lund, Justin Lynch as well, and then we got Keegan Nagalis. And so I think just that timing was actually perfect, because that's what we kind of like made up the team, and that's what made us such a strong team. It was just the right players at the right time, I think.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, and it's fantastic because, as you said, it's like a confluence of players all at the same time coming together and just being able to, to work together in that regard.
Right.
But now I think so. So thanks for that, Megan. I've enjoyed our interview tonight. I've made some notes here. So, Calvin, in about 2 years' time, we're going to invite Megan back to the show, and we're going to follow up on some of these commitments that she's made to herself and
That
to the
is fair.
viewers. So we will give you sufficient time so that we're going to remind you about the Botvinnik book. I'm actually going to go look for the name of it, by the way, because I've got 4 Botvinnik books upstairs. So I'm going to check if I've got a light blue one, Megan, in that regard. And then, of course, you also said your advice was to the younger players, keep it funny and study the classics. That's what you also made. And then, of course, club chess you said was very important. And then you said that Klaasen is your favorite player.
Carlson, yes.
Now, Megan, any final words from you to the viewers out there before we go on our Christmas break?
Not really, but I just want to say thank you for the opportunity. I felt honored when I was asked to just appear on the Reflection show. I do watch the Reflections occasionally, especially when Calvin and Robin come to visit, and then it's just on the laptop and we can hear Uncle Lyndon interviewing different people. So I think it's an honor to be being interviewed by your Uncle Lyndon. And thank you, Calvin, for having me on the show.
Thank you very much, Megan. Calvin has indicated that he may want to ask you something quickly, Megan. So let us quickly go back to the studio there. Calvin, over to you.
Okay, yes, no, great stuff. It was actually great having you, and we'll just conclude in a few moments. But there's two more quick questions here in the chat box. One from Boom Shaka again. Boom Shaka asks, has chess in any way helped you in your career?
I think so. I would say yes. In terms of like your thinking process and how you treat others around you, how you deal with like difficult situations, or even how you deal with great situations. I think all of that came from chess. It kind of also teaches you to be humble. It teaches you to respect others around you. So a lot of lessons that I've learned through chess and on chess tours with the family and friends and all of those things, that has impacted my character in a sense for the better. And those are good principles that I can apply within my career now. And even like when they interviewed me for the job when I started last year sometime, they asked me for different set of skills, and I could say like I have good time management skills. I'm able to multitask. So a lot of skills that came from doing chess, I can apply in my career.
Fantastic, good stuff. Thanks for that one, Megan. And then just the last question here from King of the. Welcome, King of the. I haven't seen you in a while in the chat box. Welcome back. He says, hi, Megan. Any preference for books to read as they break from chess books? So any other type of books that you can recommend?
Okay, so disclaimer, I don't read a lot. And that's a bad thing. I don't read a lot, but I watch a lot of series. So I can't like suggest any books to you. But if you want to watch a good series, I would just say Money Heist all the way. I can't.
Oh, okay, Casa the papel, something like that in Spanish, I think. So okay, good stuff. Thanks so much, Megan. From my side, thank you for joining us this evening. It's a nice soft note that we finishing this season. Soft but powerful. And yeah, now we know a bit more about you as well. And you can't deny any of your promises to yourself, like Boa said, because we're gonna put it on YouTube and we can revisit it again. So,
Yeah,
but no pressure, by the way. So,
but I think
yeah,
it's time.
So yeah, no, thanks a lot. Thanks, Dr. Boa, for organizing all of this. And any final words from you, Dr. Boa?
Yes, no, Megan, thank you very much. It's always illuminating to listen to the younger players and just what your thought processes are, because these things are very important. And as things evolve as well, because you are one of the up and coming stars of South African chess. So the key thing for you is just to continue. We love to see chess players also doing well in their workplace, and all of those things. They tend to interact, coming together. And as you said, you were able to just talk about time management and skills and all of those multitasking. So thanks for that, Megan. Now I think Calvin, we've had a lovely season, and Megan, just allow me a moment to just remind the audience that we started with Lawrence Ball actually. Right back there in sort of September, and then we went on to Mr. Johannes Mabusela, our international master, and then we even went there to Grandmaster Stojkovic out in Serbia, and then we had Professor Daim Shabazz. He's from Florida, Tallahassee in the USA, and then we came back sort of when we went to Wales. We went to Tim Kett. He's the Welsh champion, Megan, and has played for the Welsh Olympiad team 7 times. And then we had Professor Barry Heimer, Calvin, that told us a lot about motivation and the research that he's been doing. Megan, then we even went to your other favorite country besides France. We went to Mozambique, and we had Vigario on the show, and he told us a lot about chess in Mozambique, and that he's planning to write a sort of history of Mozambique, Calvin, and I promised to help him. So during this holiday, I'm actually going to find some of the old history of some of the stories of Mozambique. And then, of course, we in South Africa, we also had Mr. Michael Barry, who was a chess artist, but he was an artist in his own right. And he told us a bit about chess in the Eastern Cape during those years. And then, of course, we also had Mark Peterson, who co-wrote a book about Rodney Williams as well on the show. So there's been a lot of different people coming from different places. And Megan, you've kicked off now our women's section again. In the previous season, we had Minion Pretorius. So I'm hoping, Calvin, that during the holidays, I'll negotiate with a few more people. And Megan, perhaps in late January, when we send out the notes who we're going to get together again, then we'll be able to learn from quite a number of people. So from my side, Calvin, thanks to you and also to Jacques Frick, who's always helping us with the games and so forth. That technical team is very important because one of the interesting things, Megan, is that we have calculated that we probably have done about 35 episodes already. So
Wow.
and that's quite a chunk of YouTube history, Calvin, that has built up over the years, and we will of course add to it as time goes as well. But for now, we'll wish all the viewers and also Megan and Calvin and Robin and everybody just happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and stay safe on the roads. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Dr. Boa. Thank you, Megan, and everybody. Thanks in the chat. Have a nice evening, everyone. Enjoy the holidays. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone.